First of all, I just want to say welcome back, Thomas. Thomas, how you doing to the show?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's been a couple of months. My bad on everything, on that part. I mean, politics, it's very interesting. We've probably not covered a whole lot of it, but it's been a crazy world for the past few months since we've actually had a show on this. So,
So yeah, the last thing I think we covered has been since like May, and that right now to me, why we haven't covered it super much is it's been a lot of rumors so far, and I prefer exciting stuff in politics, but only if it's on substance. I don't really care too much about all the rumors and stuff like that. So especially with the presidential race, we'll see how that plays out. But we do have some very important races coming up. Thomas, did the primaries happen for this one already, or some of these governor ones, or not yet?
the Kentucky one already happened.
Okay, Kentucky happened. Daniel Cameron will be the nominee for the Republicans, so we'll get to
Yeah.
that. But so yeah, you got governor's races in Louisiana. They have a term limited Democrat. You have Mississippi. They have a Republican incumbent, Tate Reeves, and then you have Kentucky. Andy Beshear, I think is how you say it, is going for a second term. He is a Democrat in Kentucky. So we'll go over each race. We'll start with Louisiana. No, we'll start with Mississippi actually.
Okay.
Mississippi's interesting because you have Tate Reeves, who's the incumbent. Mississippi's a very red state, but you also have what could potentially be a strong challenge in Brandon Presley. What do you think about that race, Thomas? To
I
start,
mean, all right. So, for people that don't know about Tate Reeves, he's one of the most unpopular governors in the country right now with his Jackson water crisis scandal, which is kind of similar to what people in Michigan would believe as like the Flint water crisis that happened years ago. So this scandal on that is getting hit pretty hard. And considering Mississippi's not one of the most fortunate states in the country right now, and Brandon Presley, who's related to Elvis, I believe, in some way. I can't remember how. He's like, yeah. Uh,
yeah, but I mean, RFK is getting no favor. RFK Jr. is getting no favors from his family, so maybe Presley won't from his, But I think Mississippi too, especially Tate Reeves is going to struggle a little bit, mainly because of the water crisis was really really bad.
mhm.
Look into that if you haven't. It was bad. It was getting like I know Jackson State for football was really struggling, but all of just Jackson, Mississippi as a whole. And also you got the welfare crisis too going on.
Yep,
Or the scandal that happened. So that's all going against him. But Mississippi on the state level is a very, very red state.
yep,
So it's going to be tough. I think the polls I last saw were lean Republican for this one, but
yeah,
it's going to be a tough race, especially if Presley runs a good campaign.
yeah. And also, I just looked it up. Presley's Elvis's cousin. So
Oh, cousin.
that's some facts that if some people didn't know. But yeah, that race is gonna be close considering Brandon Presley kind of viewed himself as a moderate Democrat, which in a state like Mississippi in the South, you kind of have to run as a moderate to actually win. And we're going to talk about why Democrats in Louisiana and Kentucky are elected as well. But
Yeah, and so not only that, a social moderate too, which we will also talk about. Which because when you hear moderate, they're like, oh, you're usually nationally you'll hear moderate on the economy, moderate on this. No, these are social moderate, Democrats too. So you got to consider that. Let's go to Louisiana then, because I think that kind of plays right into that because
yeah,
you had an incumbent governor, John Bell Edwards, who was against abortion, openly against abortion. I believe, right, Thomas? Or
I think he has some pro-life stances. He's been very moderate in the state. Like if we go back to 2015, he defeated a incumbent senator who was running for governor because the senator got hit with a scandal, and even the own Republican governor endorsed John Bell Edwards. So that was like
yeah,
pretty big back then. Um, while he's now being term limited in the prime, it's like a if people don't know, Louisiana has a jungle primary, so they're gonna on election day, or I think it's a month before the actual election, they have the best two candidates run off. So they have all these candidates for now. Then whoever finishes in the top two will run off at the November election. And so far, these polls have indicated it's going to be Louisiana Attorney General Jeff Landry versus I think the Secretary of Transportation of the state of Louisiana, or something like that, Sean Wilson.
are they both Republican or what are they?
John Wilson's a Democrat.
Democrat, okay. Because that race was interesting because for the longest time you had John Kennedy, of course, the senator from Louisiana. He was rumored, is he going to get in? Is he going to come home to Louisiana, get out of Washington? He eventually decided not to. So this primary got a lot more open, and that's very interesting about the jungle primary too. I actually did not know that personally, but so do you think what political positions factor in this race? Do you think, Thomas?
Well, I mean, you got to really view as the 8 year Democrats. Some people are going to view this as the Democrats, Maryland governor race from last year. If people didn't know about Larry Hogan being term limited, it was like most likely going to flip because there was no Republican going to run. Sean Wilson is probably the strongest Democrat they could provide. It depends on how Jeff Landry is going to pivot because some people view him as farther right than the other candidates, and that might hurt him. But at the same time, if he gets the Republican support, and considering Louisiana is a very strong Republican state now, he could still win, which would be a big win for the Republican Party and the RGA that needed an extra governor. And that would be pretty helpful.
So, okay, that's gonna be one to watch because I agree. Like, some states really like balanced government, like Vermont, for example. Why does Vermont have a Republican governor, right? Some people just really like, I mean, of course, he's, very middle, maybe you can argue left, but some people just like balanced government. Here, I think what Thomas is saying is correct, that you just had 8 years of a Democrat governor. The voters of Louisiana, the Republicans at heart usually, they might be looking for something else. So I agree with that. And I guess we'll go to Kentucky because this is the one to me that's gotten the most media attention, and at least that I've seen. Because Daniel Cameron in 2020 in a big way, when he was with the whole Breonna Taylor thing, that kind of put him on the map a little bit, and he's been, he's been a strong fighter in general, I would say, in Kentucky. At first, Andy Beshear was supposed to walk away with this. That's what people thought, but this has become a closer race. I would say this is still probably lean Democrat, but where do you see this going, Thomas, in Kentucky?
I mean, for people that don't truly know, there's only been three Republican governors that have been elected in Kentucky
Right.
since 1945, which was after World War II. The most recent Republican governor lost to Andy Beshear in 2019, and who people don't know, Andy Beshear was also the son of a former governor, another Beshear, previously. Bashar is one of the most popular governors in the country, too. He has a 64% approval rating, which is going to be really hard for Daniel Cameron to get close to. There are polls that say that they're only in a couple points of a margin of error, and then there are some points saying Andy Bashar's got it. And for people that truly don't know, that Kentucky is a very ancestral Democrat state that the Republicans only recently, like last year, have taken over in regard to party registration. So there are definitely a lot of Democrats in Kentucky at heart who have voted for Bashar and Donald Trump. And I think for some people in Kentucky who have that southern, tradition, they're not going to like Daniel Cameron based on how he is a interracially married man, along with
That's
I'm not
still
going to
so
say
weird how it's in play, but Thomas is right. Like some of those southern states, that still comes to play. You would have thought that would have been like a 20, 40-year thing ago, but no, that for sure still comes to play. That Daniel Cameron's going to have to leap that barrier. And people are going to think he's too far to the right. And then the Southern Democrats are unfortunately, or Southern Republicans are not going to vote for him because of that tradition. So I would say just final judgment. I don't like getting into predictions too much with this stuff because it's still way out. What do you have what Governor Manchin do you think is going to flip? Which one do you have the most confidence that's going to flip?
probably Louisiana.
I would have to agree too, especially with so many candidates, so many new ideas. I think Louisiana too, but we'll have to watch as it gets closer.